The shocking truth about the Proverbs 31 woman, what you never knew at 3 a.m., in the dead of night. When the clock strikes 3, a truth lurks in the shadows, one that shakes the very foundations of who we thought the Proverbs 31 woman really is. It's a figure cloaked in scripture, praised for her virtue. But what if I told you there's a dark side, an unspeakable secret that could flip everything you know on its head? Beneath the surface of her quaint persona lies a tale of struggle, despair, and an uncanny connection to a world far beyond our own. Imagine this: a woman whose hands are calloused from labor, threading through the fabric of expectation, yet haunted by a ghostly legacy. They say she was a master of many trades, farming, weaving, managing, but whispers echo through hidden alleys about strange gatherings that took place under the cover of night. She wasn't just skillful, she was a keeper of something incredible, something that reeked of ancient magic and dark omens. The townspeople would steal glances, their eyes wide, knowing she may have been channeling energies they dared not comprehend. Was there a hidden agenda, a sacrifice made long ago? Tension crackled through the air like an impending storm. Every time she smiled, those around her wore masks of fear, unsure whether they were gazing at an angel or something more sinister. A search party once noticed flickering candles in her home when all others were asleep. What was she stitching together at that hour? And why were the winds outside howling like lost souls, sending a chill down spines while secrets shivered in the air? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the days that followed, children began to vanish. Rumors spread like wildfire, igniting fear in the hearts of parents. It wasn't just the Proverbs woman they whispered about anymore. Now they spoke her name in hushed tones, alongside those missing, as if entwined in a web of conspiracy. What if she knew more than she let on? What if those eerie gatherings were a part of something more profound, something that went beyond the mundane chores of daily life? Still, there was a flicker of hope, a prophetic dream by a child, one that spoke of a key buried deep in the heart of her garden. As the sun peeked through the clouds, casting elongated shadows, a spark ignited curiosity. Could this key unlock the mystery? Or would it lead to a darkness deeper than anyone could imagine? One thing was clear: the truth was about to emerge, and with it, the fate of many hung in the balance. What would come of that rusted key? And what would it reveal about the woman who seemed to be more than just a pious figure in a book? The answers awaited, lurking like the night just beyond the horizon. Night fell once again, shrouding the town in a veil of doom. Shadows crept out from every corner, clinging to houses like dark memories. Parents locked their doors tight, whispering prayers that their children would find their way home. The air shimmered with despair, thick enough to choke on. The cries of the missing were whispers carried by the wind, and the only sound louder than their silence was the steady tapping of rain on rooftops, echoing like a countdown to something terrifying. Esther, one of the town's bravest, felt a jolt of determination. She couldn't shake the feeling that the Proverbs 31 woman had the answers. Gathering her nerve, she hurried to the garden, where the rumor of a key sparked inside her like a flame in the dark. The moon's silver glow illuminated the space, highlighting ridges of soil and patches of wild grass. Armed with nothing but a rusty spade, she began to dig. Each scrape of the earth sent vibrations through her body, a deep sense of dread mixing with adrenaline. As the dirt flew, a chill crawled up her spine. Something was watching. She paused, holding her breath, but the only sound was the rain. The thought of the missing children nudged her urgency. What if the key unlocked a door not just to the truth but perhaps to their fates? She dug deeper. Her hands ached, fingers trembling as the soil yielded to her persistence. Then her spade struck something hard. Heart racing, she quickly uncovered a small, tarnished box. It felt ancient, worn smooth by time, and oddly warm to the touch. Was it the key to everything? In that moment, the wind howled. A swirl of leaves danced around her, whispering her doubts and fears. She opened the box with trembling hands. Inside lay an array of what resembled bones, tiny, delicate, as if they belonged to something far more significant than any child. And there, glinting beneath the debris, was a shimmering key, intricately carved and pulsating with an unknown energy. The moment her fingers brushed against it, a vision flooded her mind. A flicker of shadows, the whispers of children, the image of the Proverbs 31 woman surrounded by dark figures with glowing eyes. Esther staggered back, heart pounding. She could feel the weight and burden of their anguish, a pact forged in darkness that had been hidden from the world until now. Suddenly, footsteps broke through her trance. She spun around, only to find herself face to face with a familiar figure, Ruth, the Proverbs woman herself. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos around them. "You shouldn't have found that," Ruth said softly, her voice a melody that danced with mystery. Esther's heart raced, caught between fear and an unexplainable pull towards this woman who seemed both dangerous and alluring. "Why are the children missing?" Esther demanded, voice shaking. "What's the connection between you and this?" Ruth smiled, an unsettling warmth in her eyes. "Some secrets carry a heavier burden than the world can bear. Would you dare uncover the truth hidden behind old shadows?" As she spoke, the air turned electric. A storm brewed overhead, rumbling with fury that hinted at revelations yet unearthed. Esther's grip tightened around the key. What had she unleashed? What dark energy would it awaken? Each heartbeat warned of impending danger, and just as the winds howled with fury, she knew the moment had come. What lay ahead would change everything. Would she dare step closer into the depths of the unknown? And with that question spiraling in her mind, the ground beneath trembled, as if answering the call of something awakening in the distance. Esther clutched the key, the cool metal biting into her palm, grounding her as Ruth's presence loomed. Anger surged within her, she needed answers. "What have you done to them? Where are the children?" Ruth's smile faded, shadows flickering across her face. "The truth is not a simple path, my dear." She sighed, the air around her shimmering with unspoken weight. "The children you seek did not vanish without reason. They are part of a legacy much older than this town, and much darker." Esther's breath quickened. The rain intensified, each drop hammering down like a drumbeat against a shared heart. "What do you mean?" Ruth stepped forward, her presence commanding yet oddly comforting. "We are bound by more than mere fate. There is a cycle, a reckoning every generation must face. Those who go missing serve a purpose in this balance." Balance? The word echoed in Esther's mind, sending chills along her spine. "What kind of purpose?" "You will see," Ruth answered, her voice almost a whisper. As she spoke, the key pulsed again, and Esther felt a jolt of energy coursing through her, a mingling of fear and curiosity. The box still lay open beside her, the tiny bones glimmering like stars fallen from the night sky. Suddenly, the wind howled back to life, swirling around them, and in that chaotic moment, a whisper surged through the air. It was faint at first, a soft call that grew into a cacophony of voices. "Help us, save us, do you hear them?" Esther's heart raced, drowned in the chorus of longing. "Yes," Ruth nodded, her expression serious, yet her gaze held an odd glint. "They yearn for release and truth. But what might come of it is a different tale. This key does not merely unlock doors, it unearths the past and what binds every soul here in a fate you might not return from." Esther swallowed hard, turning the key over in her hands. The earth beneath them trembled again, shaking loose earth and memories of forgotten screams. The shadows twisted, and once more the urgency of the missing children called out to her. "I have to know," she whispered, the determination clear in her voice. "I cannot stand by while they suffer." The storm outside raged, and at that moment, everything felt suspended in time. The fear in Esther's chest coiled tightly, yet hope stood defiantly beside it. Could she save them? Ruth's eyes flashed with something darker, almost possessive. "This path ventures deeper than you anticipate. Are you ready?" Esther nodded, the weight of her conviction palpable. She took a step towards the root of it all, heart racing as uncertainty enveloped her. The box buzzed with energy, shadows flicked against the garden's edges, and with Ruth by her side, she felt both comforted and apprehensive. "Then let the truth unfold," Ruth said, her voice wind-tossed and fierce. The storm gripped tighter, and with a swift motion, she pointed towards an outline emerging through the night, an archway that shimmered in the rain-soaked darkness, an entrance to the unknown. Esther stepped forward, compelled by the fear of the fading cries and the pull of the key. With a deep breath, she took another step, ready to uncover the hidden truth. But what would she find on the other side? As she crossed the threshold, the shadows whispered louder, and then, without warning, the key slipped from her fingers, clattering to the ground as something loomed behind her. Not all secrets want to be found. What had she just walked into? The moment the key hit the ground, a wave of cold air surged toward Esther, shoving her forward. Panic gripped her as her heart thundered against her ribcage. She half-turned, compelled to look back, to grab the key, but dread anchored her feet. Something was there, lurking in the shadows, the outline of a figure, tall and twisted. It moved with a fluidity that defied the storm, slipping in and out of sight. She felt a rush of terror. The whispers surged and twisted, melding into a single, piercing cry. "Help us, save us!" Ruth remained by the entrance, her expression unreadable. "You must face it, Esther. All of it," she urged, voice low yet undeniably urgent. "Face what?" Esther's voice trembled, fear mixing with anger. "What are you dragging me into?" The figures in the shadows flickered like flames, beckoning her to come closer. Ruth's patience started to crack. "You'll understand soon enough. This is your reckoning, your moment in the cycle. You can't turn back." The whispers morphed into a symphony of guilt, regrets echoing her own fears. Esther's breath quickened, a lump forming in her throat. She had come here seeking answers, but now she wrestled with an overwhelming sense of despair. The ground beneath her feet felt alive, trembling with anticipation. Shadows darted closer, and she could see faces now, children's faces, hollow and worn. "Esther," they called, their voices dragging her name through sorrow. "Stop! Just stop!" she shouted, desperate to drown out the echoes. Yet something within her, something primal, urged her to listen, to understand. Ruth stepped into the archway, the storm a mere backdrop to her presence. "They're still here, Esther. They're waiting for someone to break the cycle." Esther hesitated, the weight of the key still heavy on her mind. What would breaking this cycle actually mean? Would she sacrifice herself like the others? What if the truth shattered her? The dark figure loomed closer, a contorted shape that merged into the shadows around it. Its gaze bore down on her, and every instinct screamed to run. But the children, no, she couldn't leave them. "Tell me the truth. What must I do?" she cried, desperation flooding her veins. The answer came not from Ruth, but from the shadows. "Free us!" Finish what was started. The words twisted in the air, pulling at her heart and mind. A flicker of the key's energy surged again, illuminating her surroundings for an instant. In that moment, she saw the children staring, pleading beneath the weight of chains made of despair. They were trapped in another cycle, destined to repeat the darkness that shrouded the town. The urge to rescue them surged within her. Dread transformed into reckless bravery. She knew she had to make a choice, but what would it require of her? Ruth's eyes glimmered, the storm reflecting in their depths. "You're not just a seeker of truth, Esther. You hold a power within you that can alter the course of fate. But every power has a price." Before Esther grasped what was happening, she felt herself pulled forward, towards the figure that now beckoned with hands outstretched. The faces of the children melded into one, a reflection of all she longed to save, and just as fear wrapped its tendrils around her, the dark figure whispered, "Welcome home." What would it take to embrace this new reality? Each heartbeat echoed the intensity of the decision looming ahead. Would she gather every shred of courage to reclaim the lost, or would the shadows consume her whole? As the air thickened with her decision, a crack of lightning illuminated the archway. It wasn't just a passage, it was the gateway to her deepest fears and truths. Would she dare to step into the abyss? The dark figure continued to loom, its outstretched hands trembling in the electric air. Esther felt an unexplainable pull toward it, a magnetic force drawing her closer. "What is it you want from me?" she whispered, battling the echoes of doubt flooding her mind. "Embrace the shadows, Esther. Embrace your past." The figure's voice wove through the storm, robust yet eerily soft, wrapping around her like tendrils of smoke. The storm itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her to act. Ruth stepped back, giving Esther the space she needed, but her eyes burned with intensity. "This is not just about saving them. It's about understanding why they are here." Esther looked at the shadowed children, their eyes wide and full of sorrow. Each glance pierced her heart like a knife. "Why are you trapped?" she cried out, her voice trembling with urgency. "They wait for you, Esther. They are shackled by your own shadows, your fears." The figure suddenly became clearer, revealing a face that twisted with agony and longing, a mirror of her own buried frustrations and secrets. "No!" Her voice broke, frustration washing over her. "I didn't choose this. I didn't rejecting them only tightens the chains. You must confront your own darkness to set them free." The children's faces faded for a heartbeat, then surged back, desperation painted across their features. "Please." The ground trembled violently beneath her, as if the earth itself was groaning with the weight of her indecision. A clap of thunder rumbled overhead, a warning, reminding her of how close danger lurked. Just outside the archway, the wind howled with the cries of those lost, pushing against her resolve. "What if I fail?" she whispered, a sob clawing at her throat. "Then you will remain in chains, just like them." The darkness was closing in, a vortex swirling around her, and the shadows threatened to envelop all light. Every nerve in her body fired, a desperate plea for action. Taking a deep breath, Esther clenched the key in her hand. It pulsed with warmth, an anchor to reality. "All right, I'll face it. I'll face my fears." As the words escaped her lips, everything intensified. A dazzling light burst forth from the key, illuminating her surroundings, drowning out the shadows for a fleeting moment. The dark figure shrieked, a wail of anguish that reverberated off the stone walls. The children's whispers morphed into a chant, invoking the power she now wielded. "Break the cycle," they urged, voices intertwining like a haunting melody. Esther felt a tremor in her chest, a whirlpool of emotion. She recalled every moment of doubt, every defeated thought that had ever cornered her. With each memory, her hesitation chipped away, leaving room for a fierce determination. "All right," she shouted, her voice unwavering now. "I will free you. I will release us all." With those final words, the light from the key ignited, flooding the archway with blinding brilliance. The childlike faces smiled, glowing with hope, as the shadows writhed violently, trying to escape. But it was too late. The key unlocked something deep within the source of the despair that had gripped her and trapped them all. Suddenly, a rush of energy surged through her, filling every fiber of her being. The weight of the children's suffering, their chains, poured into her. In that moment, fear surrendered to courage, and despair melted into unyielding strength. But then, a chilling laugh echoed from the shadows, a sound that twisted her stomach into knots. "You think you can save them, don't you?" Esther's heart raced. What had she just awoken? What lurked in the depths of this darkness? As a flicker of doubt returned, she caught sight of a figure materializing out of the shadows, a malicious grin spreading across its face. "Welcome to the real game, dear Esther. It has only just begun." She felt the electricity of fear crackle in the air again, thick and oppressive. What choice had she truly made? Would she withstand the storm now raging within her, or would it consume her whole? The answer lay just beyond her grasp. The air was electric, buzzing with unseen tension as the figure stepped closer. Esther could feel the weight of its intention pressing against her chest, compressing her breath. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her fingers trembled around the key. Could it really be that simple? Had she truly unlocked something powerful enough to change everything? As the shadow crept forward, its grin widened, revealing teeth sharpened against the radiant glow emanating from the key. "Let's discuss your weaknesses, shall we? They're as deliciously sharp as you are naive," the figure taunted, its voice twisting through the space, smooth yet laced with menace. Esther took a step back, heart thundering. What do you want from me? Panic bubbled beneath her skin. You know exactly what it is, it said, voice dripping with mockery. The shadow's form swirled, becoming more defined, myriads of memories pouring out like smoke, fragments of failures and insecurities ensnaring her mind, dragging her back to the moments she had tried so hard to bury. Stop! She yelled, shaking her head, but the memories took shape, her childhood doubts morphing into faces, friends who had laughed, parents whose expectations loomed like heavy clouds. They cling to you, Esther, the figure hissed. And now, their whispers echo through your soul, you can't escape them. No! She clenched her fists tighter around the key, its warm light shimmering against the dark. I won't let you control me. With every shout, the shadows clawed at her resolve, morphing into dread that threatened to drown her. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted the children, their gazes wide and filled with fear. They were still there, entwined with the shadows, flickering like flames caught in an unforgiving wind. The entity chuckled. Ah, but you're not fighting for them. You're fighting for yourself, out of pure selfishness. And that, it leaned closer, will lead you to your failure. A new wave of fear surged through her, the kind that knotted her stomach and numbed her limbs. Was she desiring freedom for them, or was this just a desperate attempt to quell her own pain? Every heartbeat felt like betrayal. Think, Esther, it urged. Face the truth before you attempt to be their savior. The shadows whispered louder, surging forth, and Esther staggered. Could it be true? Could her own demons be standing in the way of their salvation? The light from the key began to flicker, the glow dimming as uncertainty wrapped around her. No! She screamed, but the shadows didn't soften. They twisted, blackened arms reaching for the children. They could feel their impending doom. She couldn't let that happen. Pushing against the gnawing darkness, Esther remembered the warmth of their smiles, how they looked at her with hope infused into their haunting eyes. They needed her. More than that, she yearned to set them free. And then, in a moment of clarity, she let go of the fear. If she failed, she would rise again and try. If shadows held a grip on her heart, then they would fall before her resolve. You are not stronger than the light I hold, she declared, holding the glowing key aloft. With that realization, a blinding flash erupted, and the darkness recoiled, shrieking as if burned by the light. Esther felt her heart racing with newfound courage, the energy rebounding as unfiltered strength coursed through her veins. But then, the figure snarled, rage etching its features into something monstrous. This is merely the beginning, Esther. You may have found your light, but every light casts a shadow, and I will reveal them all. The ground rumbled beneath her feet, shaking the archway, threatening to tear her from her stand. How could she keep hold of her power if the very source of it brought forth such terror? Her resolve trembled in the wake of the figure's ominous promise. With her heart pounding, Esther knew the battle was far from over. But what secrets would arise next? What horrors lurked in the shadows she was now forced to confront? Only time would reveal the truth. Esther steadied herself, the key's soft glow wrapping around her like a shield as she focused on the shadow looming before her. The chaos below churned like a storm, but her newfound strength felt solid and reassuring. The monster's laughter echoed through the air, a sound so chilling that it froze her senses. You think you can defeat me with that little glow stick? It spat, eyes glinting with malice. Esther gritted her teeth, refusing to let the fear bubble back to the surface. She could feel the children's eyes on her. Their hope depended on her, and she wouldn't betray them. The ground shook again, sending tremors rippling through her core. Esther pushed down her panic. She had to focus. Every light does cast a shadow, but every shadow can be banished. With those words, she thrust the key forward. The light flared, bright enough to momentarily blind her opponent. The shadow howled, grasping at its face as the brightness scorched its form. For a fleeting moment, she felt a weight lift. Maybe she could fight this thing. Do you know what true defeat looks like? It roared, regaining composure as the darkness billowed around it. I can reveal every dark truth you dare not acknowledge. Watch. With a flick of its wrist, swirling shadows coalesced into grotesque forms, reflecting Esther's deepest fears. Faces from the past appeared, twisted with hatred and laughter, a mocking chorus that could suffocate her spirit. Aren't you sick of living in their shadow? Just one simple wish, and the burden will be lifted. The figure's voice dripped with deceit. Esther staggered as the memories pressed against her. But no! She couldn't let them take root again. Remembering the children, their innocent faces lighting up her darkness, she shouted, I am not defined by what they think. You won't control me. A fierce light spilled from the key, undulating power that filled her again with warmth. The shadows recoiled but then surged like an angry tide, wrapping tighter, attempting to crush her voice. You may resist now, but you will come crawling back, the shadow hissed. Your weaknesses are your truth. The moment you falter, I'll be waiting. Desperation laced its tone. Esther fought to breathe as the room waned, threatening to swallow her whole. The children's cries pressed against her, their hope colliding sharply with her fears. In the whirl of shadows, she glimpsed the formation and outline of something shimmering behind the figure. It was another key, glinting, just out of reach. The revelation ignited a spark of realization. If she could harness the strength from her fears and transform it, maybe, just maybe, she could break free. You're wrong! She yelled, determination flooding her veins. You can't hold my truth against me anymore. With every ounce of power she could muster, she summoned the memories, every laughter, every tear, and infused them into the key. The resulting luminescent surge shot through the air, undulating outwards, purging the darkness. The shadows writhed, shrieked, and then they began to dissipate. With a final cry of fury, the figure clawed at the light but fell back, consumed by flames of brilliance. For the first time, the familiar weight of Esther's fears began to lift as she carved a path toward the shimmering key. But then, amid the chaos, a new silhouette rippled from the shadows, thicker, darker than the last. It emerged silently, power radiating off it like waves of heat. Esther's breath hitched. This was a guardian, a protector of the darkness. As the new figure approached, a voice like cold steel whispered, You think this battle has ended? You have yet to see what true shadows can become. Esther's heart raced anew. Was the battle truly over, or had they just awakened a deeper layer of darkness? The children watched, eyes wide, as dread seeped back in like a creeping fog. What else lurked in the moment of terror she had yet to face? The new shadow loomed larger, its form shifting and changing, as if it were made of darkness itself. Esther's thoughts raced. She locked eyes with the creature, noting how its gaze pierced through the fog of fear she tried to cast off. This was different, a guardian, it seemed, but what was it guarding? The room pulsed with thick tension, a heavy weight settling over her like a lead blanket. Esther felt the children's eyes, wide with fear and uncertainty. Their faith in her flickered, and she couldn't let it go out. Not now. The figure spoke again, its voice smooth like ice but crackling with energy. I am the manifestation of fear, the truth you crave to suppress. You fight me, but I am not your adversary, I am your reflection. Reflection? Esther echoed, puzzled. The moment it left the figure's lips, the walls around them shook again. The shadows began to swirl, forming a vortex that felt alive, hungry. Yes, it continued, moving closer. Every dark thought, each failure, and every doubt you've ever harbored is wrapped within me. You sway between courage and cowardice, like a marionette. So let us play a game, shall we? Before she could protest, the room blurred. Everything she knew vanished in a flash, replaced by a desolate landscape of her own making. Twisted trees with skeletal branches reached out, shadows cast by a pale, sickly light. She felt disoriented, her heart pounding louder than thunder. As she took a step forward, a ghostly echo surrounded her, her own voice. Esther, you're worthless. You'll never amount to anything. The words echoed off the trees, filling her ears. The darkness tightened around her, binding her with remembrances of doubt. No! She screamed, I refuse to be bound by these lies. She reached for the key, its light flickering in her grasp. Forcing herself to focus, she thought of the children, their joy, and their innocence. They needed her. With a defiant shout, she swung the key like a sword of light, cutting through the shadows. The ground trembled beneath her feet as the darkness recoiled, yet the figure remained unmoved, its eyes glimmering with cruel amusement. "Do you think wielding the light will save you? These shadows exist because you allow them," it taunted. She hesitated, caught in its sway. What if it was right? What if this battle was simply a facade for deeper struggles within her heart? That thought made her chest tighten. Could she face those truths? The shadows crept closer, coiling around her ankles like snake vines, whispering lies that felt all too familiar. Behind them, the figure watched with anticipation, as if this was the moment it had been waiting for. Then she remembered the faces of the children. Their laughter danced within her, pure, undiluted joy reaching through her haze of doubt. "No more!" Esther cried, filling her voice with all the strength she possessed. "I am not alone. My truth and my light are stronger than my fears." Energized, she thrust the key forward again, creating an explosion of brilliance that surged toward the figure. The light met the shadow, and for a heartbeat, Esther saw something: fear, vulnerability hidden behind the mask. The guardian faltered, but only for an instant. "Ah, but this is just the beginning," it hissed, an edge of desperation creeping into its tone. "You've tasted light, but shadows will always return, more relentless than before." As the figure shuddered and dissolved back into the dark, Esther's heart raced. What did that mean? Was the fight really over? A sharp scream pierced the air, shattering the moment of triumph. She spun around. The children were crumpled on the ground, eyes wide, mouths agape in terror. The swirling shadows had returned, more aggressive and chaotic than ever before. Panic erupted within her. Hadn't she just defeated that illusion? Then, a familiar laugh echoed against the walls, weaving through the chaos a sound filled with malice and familiarity. The shadow had only returned stronger. "Don't you see? The war is never won." Esther's mind spun. Could she stand a chance as the darkness encroached again? Her breath quickened as the truth sank in. She hadn't just battled a shadow, she had awakened a nightmare. What other horrors had she yet to face in the depths of her own soul? The shadows twisted, writhing like a mass of serpents hungry for prey. Esther felt her breath hitch in her throat, her heart drumming wildly in her chest. The children's eyes, once bright with hope, now mirrored her own fear. They huddled together, searching for safety in each other amidst the chaos, their innocence tainted by the darkness that loomed. "No, no," Esther whispered, as she scanned the landscape of despair. The shadows lunged again, snapping at her heels, as panic surged through her. What if the darkness was indeed stronger? What if this time, she couldn't shield the children from its relentless grip? "Your efforts are futile, Esther," the hovering villainous figure sneered. "You think you can turn the tide with just the key and a flicker of light? Look at them." It gestured toward the frightened children, voices cracking like thunder as they sobbed quietly. "They're already lost." Something inside her twisted painfully, but she steeled herself. "No!" Esther shouted, voice breaking through the shadow's taunt. "You may be a part of me, but I am more than just my fears." She felt the warmth of the key pulsing in her hand. Each thrum resonated with every heartbeat, a beacon cutting through the murky depths of doubt. But as the eerie laughter faded back into the darkness, it left her with a haunting question: what if the figure wasn't lying? "Face it, Esther. You've always doubted. You're just a woman, lost in the shadows of yourself," it hissed, slithering closer. The air thickened, each word slicing through her resolve like a dagger. But then the image of the children, so vulnerable, so full of life, rose within her. Esther pressed her eyes shut, inhaling deeply. The memories flooded in, chasing away the shadows, their smiles, laughter, and the light that spilled from their souls. They needed her, now more than ever. With renewed vigor, she thrust the key forward again, willing it to slice through the abyss. Light exploded from its tip, illuminating the room. Walls pulsed and crackled with energy, shadows shrinking back but not vanishing. "No!" she bellowed, digging deep into her own reservoir of strength. "You are not who I am. I will not be shackled." The shadows twisted and surged, but she planted her feet, like roots anchoring a struggling tree in a storm. With another fierce swing of the key, the brightness surged higher. The shadows screamed and writhed, the cries reverberating in her bones like an anguished echo. Yet they still clawed toward the children, relentless in their pursuit. How long do you think this light can last? The figure mocked. It hovered above her, dark tendrils reaching in every direction. You're only stalling. At that moment, the truest fear ripped through her. What if the children fell into despair? What if her own weakness bared them to this haunting creature? Her heart turned to ice, thoughts racing. But before fear could take root, a chilling realization struck her like lightning. The shadows were not just out there, they were in here, too. In her. They thrived on her doubts, their power growing stronger every time she faltered. Esther narrowed her eyes. You won, win! She yelled, voice slicing through the darkness. I see you for what you are. And she meant it. She lifted the key higher, channeling every ounce of pure love, the kind that warmed the heart and burned through shadows. The glow reached a blinding intensity, forcing the claustrophobic darkness to recoil. Then, in an instant, the laughter faded. The figure shimmered, revealing its true form, an amalgamation of all her insecurities. Esther, don't you want to give in? It whispered. The pain is easier to succumb to. In that fleeting moment, doubt churned in her stomach. She was exhausted. What if I can't keep going? The thought hovered like a specter, taunting her. But she couldn't back down. Not now. Not ever. Do it for them. She shouted suddenly, aiming the key at the shadows. A fierce resolve ignited within her, battling against the encroaching blackness. Would it be enough to carve a path out of this living nightmare? With each beat of her heart, she could feel the imminent clash building deeper. The children huddled closer, eyes wide, all faith resting on her. Would she rise to the occasion, or lose them all to the shadows forever? Come on, Esther, she murmured to herself, this is your moment. The shadows surged again, desperate and hungry. What would it take to finally break through? The weight of darkness bore heavily down, yet the key continued to pulse with promise. She stood tall, knowing a storm was approaching. But as the light beckoned, an unexpected twist entwined her thoughts. Could the battle against darkness lead her deeper into herself than she ever imagined? What other parts of her soul had yet to emerge? Esther braced herself, the light from the key flaring, illuminating the chaos swirling around her. She felt the children's presence like a warm blanket, a reminder of why she fought. They were innocent, trapped by fears they didn't understand, and if she didn't confront her darkness, if she didn't embrace her truth, they would remain forever shackled. Face it, Esther, the figure hissed, metamorphosing and lunging towards her, snapping at her resolve. You think you can save them? You're merely a child lost in this abyss. No! She screamed, heart pounding like an angry drum. The children's faces swam in her mind, bright and hopeful, urging her on. You don't define me! In an explosive release of energy, Esther thrust the key outward. A beam of dazzling light shot forth, penetrating the oppressive darkness. The shadows recoiled, screeching, as if seared by the brightness. For a moment, triumph felt tangible. The laughter of 1,000 children echoed sweetly. But deep within her, doubt still flickered, a fragile flame caught in a tempest. As the figure twisted, agony etched into its features, Esther pressed forward, channeling her every fear into strength. What are you? She demanded, voice trembling but resolute. You are no longer the master of my heart. Just a piece of you, it snarled, its form shifting like smoke. Your failure, your regret fleeting yet indelible. It binds you, Esther. With grit igniting her spirit, she called upon every painful memory she could bear. Each moment of helplessness wrapped in anguish became fuel. You are wrong. The past cannot dictate my future. With that declaration, she swung the key again, light intersecting darkness with a dazzling flash. The ground shook violently as the shadows writhed, their forms collapsing under the brilliance. There was a shift, a thinning of the darkness as hope surged, radiating through her. The children's whispers intertwined, wrapping around her like a lifeline. You can do it. Don't falter. Esther felt the ancient weight of the key in her hand. She would not let the shadows take them again. Every chain she had carried snapped, released by the courage gushing through her veins. Together! She shouted, rallying the children's spirits, and they responded, their energy thrumming in tune with hers. In that moment of unity, the shadows howled, their cries shattering as the finally collapsed into nothingness. The dark figure screamed, a cacophony of rage and defiance before it was engulfed by the brilliant light, leaving just a whisper trailing behind. You will see. As silence enveloped her, Esther stood amidst the remnants of darkness. The children blinked through the fog of fear, their faces brightening with relief. It was over. The truth had been revealed. The battle against shadows was not a one-time fight but a constant journey of embracing herself. The light and the dark intertwined. One child stepped forward, a spark of innocence in her eyes. You saved us, Esther. Thank you. Esther knelt, cupping the child's face in her hands. No, dear one. You reminded me of what I am truly capable of. Moments ago, she felt forsaken by her fears, but now they intertwined around her as lessons learned, not prisoners shackling her spirit. As dawn broke, painting the landscape with warm hues, laughter spilled out like music from the children. They headed toward a shimmering path leading into the sunlit horizon, Esther leading them onward. Each step felt lighter, more purposeful than before, but beneath the promise of new beginnings, a sliver of doubt nudged her heart. The shadows might return in different forms, a testimony to her struggles, a constant reminder to be vigilant. Yet with each pulse of the key, she understood her deeper truth. She had the power within to face whatever came, illuminated by courage. As they walked into the sun, the darkness melted away, not as a memory to be feared, but as a part of herself she could now navigate, learning, growing, and thriving as a guardian not just for them, but for herself. The echoes of light mingled with her heart, forging a bond stronger than the shadows that once sought to consume her. Finally, she turned back to look at Ruth, who stood watching from the garden, a gentle smile on her face. You have chosen the light, dear Esther. Now carry it always. Esther met her gaze with pure conviction. I will. With that, they took off down the path, her heart free, a melody lingering in the air, an anthem of resilience that would always overpower the night. This is where the shadows cease, and her story truly begins. And now, I need you to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we have lined up. You need to subscribe now. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep this amazing community thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this breathtaking final chapter. Your support is what keeps us going.